This is Pro Football Perspective. I am Nathaniel Bradley. Whether you're at home, work, the gym, in your car, or wherever you are, thanks for taking time out of your day to spend here. Pro Football Perspective is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and YouTube. And of course, be sure to follow on Instagram at Pro Football Perspective. What's happening? So we move on to another metric this week, finally kind of moving toward what we've all been waiting for and what we probably, a lot of us may have thought should have been the only metric, I guess. This week, measuring GOAT group quarterbacks, we are going to be looking at the team success of each of these quarterbacks. As a reminder, I started this podcast, and Pro Football Perspective is really all about revealing maybe hidden or less noticeable ways of measuring different quarterbacks, players in general, teams, units, coaches, strategies, you name it in terms of the NFL, and just honing in on realistic measurables and focusing on the reality rather than the perception. And in doing so, I started tackling this idea of who is the GOAT and whether or not that really should even be a question now. Is it a valid question to be posed? So I wanted to go through and really measure a lot of different areas of not just, 4 or 3 or 2 quarterbacks. I wanted to look back in history, and I came up with 16 quarterbacks that I think some people would have a really strong argument for, but most people would at least say, okay, I can understand that. You might think that person is the GOAT. And came up with 16 quarterbacks: Sammy Baugh, Terry Bradshaw, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, John Elway, Brett Favre, Otto Graham, Peyton Manning, Dan Marino, Joe Montana, Aaron Rodgers, Bart Starr, Roger Staubach, Johnny Unitas, Kurt Warner, and Steve Young. I think of those 16, the GOAT is in there somewhere. Now, up to this point, as I mentioned, we've been measuring different kind of metrics in how you might look at each individual quarterback. No single metric tells the whole story. That goes and flies in the face of the hyperbole you see on various network television shows, other podcasts, even radio shows, of course, and all over the internet. But sorry, there's not a single metric that's going to really give you the whole story on who the GOAT is, who's the greatest of all time. We looked at their era-adjusted individial production. That's a great way to kind of evaluate, hey, how much oomph was in this individual player? How much were they contributing compared to their peers of their given playing days? And that was really kind of eye-opening for a lot of the players I looked at. I didn't see it coming on where they would land. Took a look at the defensive support, something I think that is missing in a lot of evaluations out there, simply because we just kind of lump that into, oh, great team, great quarterback. Well, sometimes the quarterback has a lot of help from the other units on the team, and defense is a big part of that. And so taking a look at the defensive support for each of these 16 quarterbacks was again, very eye-opening. And it provided also another means really to evaluate defenses in general and how we should be looking at those going forward. One other metric we've looked at so far is the special team support. Again, something that's really overlooked quite a bit, but it contributes to field position. It contributes to points. It's something that should at least be a part of the equation. And so that's something that was great to look at and really get a better idea of the players and how those players' special teams units really performed throughout their careers, either posing obstacles for the quarterback or giving them a little bit of a leg up over their competition. So now we move forward to team success. Now, what if I told you that evaluating a quarterback's greatness solely by the number of championships they've won is incomplete at best and willfully misleading at worst? Yet, of course, we do it all the time. The team success a quarterback has during his career is the byproduct of, you guessed it, a team effort. If a given quarterback is exceptional, as the 16 quarterbacks within the GOAT group are, then of course it's likely that that quarterback contributes to team success at a very high proportion. That's why it made sense to begin all of our metrics with the era-adjusted individual production of these quarterbacks. But that's just one lens to look at the quarterbacks with. And so oftentimes team success is where we wind up again. We always find our way back to it. It has this gravitational pull. And as we've navigated through the evaluation of the GOAT quarterbacks, I've reiterated time and time again, I'll get to team success. I'll get to team success. It is just one metric, but it is one of the biggest, if not the biggest. It's important to keep in mind that evaluating the greatest quarterbacks of all time, even the absolute greatest, if there is one, you have to keep in mind that team success does not exist within a vacuum of the influence of the quarterback. There are elements outside the efforts, influence, and control of the quarterback that impact team success to a degree. Now, how much of a degree? I mean, that's, I guess, up for debate, but that's why we acknowledged the defensive support and the special team support of each of these quarterbacks. Now, all of these contribute to team success in some form or fashion, including the individual quarterback efforts, of course. And, knowing that there are a lot of different variables and a variety of contributing factors to team success, that's all well and dandy. But the reality is that Pro Football Perspective deals in facts and results, not perceptions and reputations. So, we will begin now the highly anticipated, often demanded, and what may be the most controversial metric yet, team success. So how does one measure team success? Championships, wins, postseason wins? Well, if you take a trip back in time to the first episode of Pro Football Perspective, you'll get a full soliloquy on why total number of things just doesn't carry much weight on this podcast, even when it comes to team success. No, rather than counting up how many of everything somebody has, I want to know how often. That's, I guess, how you would boil it down. But just to satisfy those of you out there that might think it's all that matters, I'm going to run through some figures real quick so you can affirm your own positions without having to listen to anything that might challenge you to think outside of TV graphics and readily searchable Google results. Total championships. Otto Graham was 7. Tom Brady was 7. Those are the top two. Now, Otto Graham had 3 in the All-American Football Conference. I don't differentiate that from the NFL because at that point in time in history, they're essentially the same league. The NFL didn't have a monopoly on talent as it did in the 80s when the USFL existed. So Otto Graham and Tom Brady tied atop the list with 7 championships. Bart Starr, 5 championships. Joe Montana and Terry Bradshaw, both 4 championships. Johnny Unitas, 3 championships. Then you've got Staubach, Baugh, Elway, and Manning, each with 2 titles apiece. Then you've got Warner, Young, Rodgers, Breeze, and Favre, all with 1 championship. And then, of course, Dan Marino did not win a championship during his playing days. Total regular season wins. Tom Brady at 243, number 1 on the list. Number 2, Peyton Manning at 186, tied with Brett Favre. Okay, they both have 186. Drew Brees is number 4 at 172. Joe Montana at number 5 at 164. John Elway at number 6 with 148. Dan Marino at number 7 with 147. Aaron Rodgers at number 8 with 139. Johnny Unitas at number 9 with 118. Terry Bradshaw at number 10 with 107. Otto Graham at number 11 with 104. Sammy Baugh at number 12 with 95. Bart Starr at number 13 with 94. Steve Young tied with Bart Starr at number 13 at 94. Roger Staubach at 15 with 85. And Kurt Warner at number 16 with 67 regular season wins. Total postseason wins. Tom Brady running away with it here at 35 wins. Number 2 is Joe Montana with 16. Bradshaw, Manning, and Elway are all tied with 14 wins in the postseason. Brett Favre at number 6 with 13 postseason wins. Number 7 is Roger Staubach at 11 wins. Aaron Rodgers is tied with him there at number 7 with 11 wins also. And then you've got Kurt Warner, Bart Starr, Drew Brees, and Otto Graham all at 9 wins apiece. Steve Young at number 13 with 8 postseason wins, tied with Dan Marino there. Number 15, Johnny Unitas with 6 postseason wins. And number 16, Sammy Baugh with 3 postseason wins. So I'm sure those figures and stats make some people happy out there. Tom Brady experienced the most team success of the GOAT group by any measure. It's pretty straightforward. And then depending on which category you want to look at, you've kind of got a group of Montana, Graham, Manning, Favre, and Starr occupying that kind of second tier, either second or third, depending on which list there. Again, that's just if you want to count who has the most things. So who has the most things? Those are those stats there. If that's all you're tuning in for, I guess that's the end of the episode for you. For everyone else, though, Pro Football Perspective doesn't count to see who has the most things. That's not the goal. The goal of Pro Football Perspective is to equip the listener with valid reasoning tools that measure isolated efficacy in order to make judgments and arguments for or against players, teams, units, strategies, coaches, you name it. So I guess how does one measure team success isn't really the right question. The right question is, how does Pro Football Perspective measure team success? So answering that, allow me to illuminate. I want to establish the likelihood of team success as a whole in any given season of a quarterback's career based on a number of factors. Okay, so let me say that again. I am looking at this from a lens of, let me see who has the highest likelihood of overall team success in a given season throughout a quarterback's career. There are a number of categories and measurements I used, and here they go. So in the championships department, I'm not going to ignore championships, please. Okay, I'm not measuring total championships. That's not what I'm measuring. I'm not even measuring total championships above or below the GOAT group average of championships. Although maybe that could be useful down the road. I don't know. We'll see. What I'm doing is I'm measuring championships per qualifying season. So based on the results of the player's career, how many championships per season would their teams win in any given season the quarterback started at least 7 games? Of course, this number will always be a fraction below 1, unless a quarterback literally won the Super Bowl every single season they started 7 games or more. So every player in the GOAT group will have some oddball fraction or decimal score here, because this figure is determined by the total number of championships divided by the number of seasons the quarterback started 7 games or more. For example, Tom Brady, 7 championships. Tom Brady has 20 seasons in which he played 7 games or more. And so when you take a look at that and you do the math, you wind up with Tom Brady having a championships per season score right at 0.350. What does that mean? A team that Tom Brady has quarterbacked for 7 or more games during a season is likely to have 0.350 championships per season, or just over 1 every 3 seasons, if that makes sense. So that's how championships per season is computed. Okay. Now, the next category I looked at was championship appearances. Also, not going to be looking at this in terms of total championship appearances. That's not the point here. This is calculated in much the same way that championships per season is calculated. So you take the results of the player's career. How many championship appearances per season would their teams make in any given season the quarterback started at least 7 games? So just like the championships category, this number is always going to be less than 1 unless a quarterback literally played in the title game every single season they started 7 games or more. For example, you take a look at Tom Brady again. He has 10 Super Bowl appearances in 20 qualifying seasons. 10 divided by 20, 0.5. So that's his championship appearances per season score is 0.5. Every other season, you're in the Super Bowl with Tom Brady. So great metric there to measure his greatness and any of the quarterbacks' greatness. The next category will be postseason win percentage. That's straightforward. That's simply their postseason winning percentage for any given quarterback there. The next category would be regular season winning percentage. And that's obviously, again, very just simple regular season win percentage there, their win-loss record. The final category that I looked at is regular season strength of schedule. Now, this is retrieved from ProFootballReference.com. Strength of schedule simply indicates the combined winning percentage of the opponents in a given team's season. The higher the SOS indicates a tougher schedule. The lower indicates an easier schedule. The strength of schedule was important to me because I feel like it's ignored in large parts here. Yes, it doesn't really factor into winning or losing the Super Bowl once you are there. Okay? But we'd be fools if we ignored it from the standpoint of an easier schedule allows you to maybe secure better playoff seeding, which in turn allows you an easier path to the Super Bowl. Just the same way that a more difficult schedule may impede your path to better playoff seeding, making your road to the Super Bowl literally on the road and more difficult to get there. So it is worth looking at. It's something that I wanted to take a look at, and essentially what we did here was the strength of schedule was recorded from each season in which a quarterback started at least 7 games and was averaged across their qualifying seasons. So let's go back to Tom Brady for an example here. He had a strength of schedule score of negative 0.167 across the 20 seasons that he started at least 7 games. So his strength of schedule score is actually a negative, meaning that he had a slightly easier schedule than the average within the league. Okay. And that's not a knock. Like I said, it's negative 0.167, ever so slightly. Okay. So that's how we qualify that score. And those are the categories I'm working with here to measure overall team success. Okay. So I'm looking at championship appearances. I'm looking at championships. I'm looking at postseason and regular season win percentage, and I'm looking at strength of schedule. I took each of these scores for each quarterback in the GOAT group and established a GOAT group average per category. Okay, so average championships per season for the GOAT group, average championship appearances per season for the GOAT group, average postseason win percentage for the GOAT group, average regular season win percentage for the GOAT group, average strength of schedule for the GOAT group. And then what I did was I determined how much better or worse a quarterback was in each category by taking their score and simply subtracting the GOAT group average. Then their delta for each category was added together. Okay, so their better or worse score per category, and then all added together compared to the average of the GOAT group. Okay, this generates their overall team success score and their associated ranking. Now, I get it. The final category there that I mentioned, strength of schedule, it's going to, of course, be out of left field for most people listening. And to even consider that is just a little odd. You know, I recognize that. It's either going to be the most beloved or hated factor in the overall team success formula, basically, okay? But I recognize that, and I know that ahead of time. And because I'm kind of looking at that now, I know at the end of each episode, I'm going to present the team success rankings and scores for the GOAT group with and without strength of schedule factored in. Okay, so you'll get to see how much that particular category makes a difference or doesn't make a difference for each of these quarterbacks. So you'll get an idea of where they rank in overall team success with strength of schedule factored in, and then you'll get an idea of where they rank without strength of schedule factored in. And just for giggles, I'm also going to include one ranking that will rank their team success strictly on the postseason factors. So I'll leave out strength of schedule, and I'm going to leave out regular season win percentage. That should satisfy just about everybody so that they can view it as team success in the postseason, team success without strength of schedule, and then team success with strength of schedule. So we'll have 3 flavors at the end of each episode, just to make sure everybody's satisfied there. Before we get moving any further along, though, again, check out Instagram at Pro Football Perspective. I've got these full explanations there. I know some of the terminology or jargon went quick there. Everything's available at Pro Football Perspective on Instagram, so you can view it there and follow along as we start to move forward through these rankings and taking a look at each of these quarterbacks in the GOAT group. And now, without further ado, let's finally get to it here. GOAT group team success. Number 16 in overall team success in our GOAT group is Kurt Warner. So maybe a bit of a shocker right out of the gate here, being that Kurt Warner had multiple deep playoff runs and, of course, the championship to his name. But keep in mind, this is an overall team success score. It's essentially taken into account how would your team do in any given season, all else equal, with said quarterback on their team. And so Kurt Warner gives you, out of the 16 quarterbacks in the GOAT group, the 16th best chances of having success. We start off here with regular season strength of schedule here. And again, this is qualifying seasons, any season where Kurt Warner played 7 or more games. He had the lowest strength of schedule score, meaning the easiest strength of schedule throughout his career, and that was at negative 2.385. That's 16th among the GOAT group. When you get to his regular season win percentage, this is in all totality. It is not, discounting any seasons where he played fewer than 7 games. He was also 16th among the GOAT group quarterbacks, 578 winning percentage there. Postseason win percentage at 692. This is where things shift in Warner's favor, okay? If this was strictly a postseason evaluation, he might rank fairly differently here. Postseason win percentage, 692, that's 7th in the GOAT group. Championship appearances per season, he's got a .375 championship appearances per season. That's 5th in the GOAT group. And then championships per season, of course, at .125. That's tied for 9th in the GOAT group. Take all of that and essentially take each score, figure out the delta from the average of the GOAT group, add it all together, and that gives you Kurt Warner at number 16 among the GOAT group here. 16th in overall team success, Kurt Warner. Coming in at number 15 is Sammy Baugh. Potentially another shocker here because of his championship totals. It's easy to look at just one category and think that they're going to be a more successful quarterback or give your team a better shot of a successful season year in and year out. But Sammy Baugh just comes in at number 15, primarily because of his regular season strength of schedule score and his regular season win percentage score. Both of those rank 15th, just ahead of Kurt Warner. Regular season strength of schedule is negative 1.682, and his regular season win percentage was 594. Again, both of those just ahead of Kurt Warner. Kind of odd that both Warner and Baugh had the easiest schedules on a regular basis, but also had the lowest winning percentage among the GOAT group. Just something to, I guess, ponder there. Just odd. When it comes to postseason win percentage, he was a 500 quarterback. That's tied for 14th. Championship appearances per season, .333. So 1 in every 3 seasons, he's in the championship game. That's number 6 among the GOAT group. And then championships per season, .133. That's 8th among the GOAT group. And that's Sammy Baugh coming in at number 15 in overall team success. Number 14 in team success is Dan Marino. So this one people might have been looking for, being that Marino is the only quarterback in our GOAT group sans a title to his name. But when you factor in kind of the strength of schedule and his regular season win percentage, he actually shakes out slightly above both Baugh and Kurt Warner in terms of your odds of success year in and year out during his career. So again, Dan Marino, number 14. Regular season strength of schedule comes in at negative .533, and that's ninth in the GOAT group. His regular season win percentage was .613. That's 13th in the GOAT group. Postseason win percentage, he was below 500, .444 in postseason win percentage. That's 16th in the GOAT group. Championship appearances per season, .063 championship appearances per season. Again, just the one appearance during his career. That's 15th among the GOAT group. And then championships per season, of course, 0. I feel bad even looking at that or stating it there. But Dan Marino comes in at number 14 overall among the 16 quarterbacks in our GOAT group in terms of overall team success. And quick reminder before we move on to number 13 on this list here, the graphics and visual aids for all of these quarterbacks and all of the episodes here on the Pro Football Perspective podcast are available on Instagram at Pro Football Perspective. The numbers aren't quite as heavy here on this episode as they have been in the past, but it's still helpful and useful if you want to take a look at how I calculated the formula, I guess, for the overall team success and where the numbers rank and just get the visual for each quarterback and how they shake out within each category. But without further ado here, number 13 in overall team success is Brett Favre. So Favre has a fairly well-rounded resume. You know, obviously has a claim to a lot of different successes, including the one Super Bowl title to his name. Regular season strength of schedule, he ranked number 8 among the GOAT group, and that was a negative .508. Regular season win percentage, he was 11th in the GOAT group at .624. Postseason win percentage, .542, was good enough for 11th in the GOAT group. Championship appearances per season, .105, and that's 13th among the GOAT group. And then championships per season, .053, tied for 14th in the GOAT group. So again, one title to his name. And then this is where Favre's longevity kind of worked against him. The longer he played without another Super Bowl title, the smaller that number became. And so in terms of championships per season, .053. And his overall team success ranking among the GOAT group is 13th. That's Brett Favre. And rounding out the first 5 quarterbacks we'll cover in overall team success, coming in at number 12, Steve Young. So Steve Young, again, similar, kind of well-rounded, not too high, not too low in any category here. Regular season strength of schedule, he was at negative .552, ranking number 11 in the GOAT group of 16. Regular season win percentage, .657, puts him number 8. Postseason win percentage of .571 puts him number 10. Championship appearances per season, .111, and that's 12th among the GOAT group. Again, this is championship appearances per qualifying season. So yes, Steve Young entered the league in 1986, and played all the way through a couple of games in 1999. But we're looking at how many times did he appear in the Super Bowl per season he started 7 or more games. Okay, so that's why that number is where it is. You may not have noticed it, but that, again, same applies to somebody like Kurt Warner, where there were a few seasons where he did not start 7 games or more. Moving on to championships per season, same figure there, .111. So Young was 1 for 1 in his Super Bowls there. That ranks number 12 in the GOAT group, matching his overall rank of number 12 in overall team success. Steve Young coming in at number 12 there. So there you have it, the first 5 quarterbacks on this ranking of GOAT Group team success. When it comes to their overall GOAT Group ranking, you've got Kurt Warner at number 16, Sammy Baugh at number 15, Dan Marino at 14, Brett Favre at 13, and Steve Young at number 12. Now, as promised, if you take strength of schedule out of the equation, and then you go ahead and rank the quarterbacks just with their regular season win percentage, postseason win percentage, championship appearances per season, and championships per season, these 5 would not change all that much, okay? Rather than Warner being number 16, he jumps all the way up to number 8. That's the biggest difference here, okay? So Kurt Warner, as we mentioned, had the one of the easier schedules, which counted against him. Okay, you take strength of schedule out of the equation, he jumps right up to number 8 in overall team success. Then Sammy Baugh ranks 15th with the standard metric, and then if we remove strength of schedule, he jumps up to 11th. Okay, so another positive jump there. So we've got people moving around on the board. Dan Marino ranked 14th. If we take strength of schedule out of the equation, he drops down to 16th. Okay, then Brett Favre ranked 13th. You take strength of schedule out of the equation, he drops 1 slot to 14th. And then Steve Young ranked as number 12. And then if you remove strength of schedule, Steve Young right at number 12 still. So you see some people make some moves, others it doesn't affect that much. But when you're on one end of the scale or another when it comes to strength of schedule, that is going to impact you either positively or negatively there if you're not close to average. And again, as I mentioned, one more GOAT Group postseason team success. Okay, so if we just look at the postseason team success, you've got, Kurt Warner jumps all the way up to number 7 now, okay, rather than the 16 ranking. Okay, so Kurt Warner jumps up to number 7. Then for Sammy Baugh, he's going to jump up to number 10, okay, and then Dan Marino drops down to number 16. Again, a lot of that due to just flat out not having a championship to his name and just the one appearance. Brett Favre goes from number 13 and stays right at 13 for if you're just looking at postseason success. Brett Favre is right at 13 still. And then you've got Steve Young still at number 12. Postseason success, overall team success without strength of schedule, overall team success with strength of schedule. Steve Young is 12th in all of those. So that's how that shakes out so far. And we'll be kind of getting to the rest of these as we move forward. But so far, interesting enough. I'm sure there are plenty of comments and discussions that can be generated from this, agreements, disagreements, you name it. But that's the first 5 quarterbacks of our GOAT Group for overall team success ranking. And we'll be moving forward from here. Thanks again for joining Pro Football Perspective. On the next episode, we'll continue our evaluation of GOAT Group quarterback team success. So look for that coming soon. Again, Pro Football Perspective is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube, and be sure to follow along on Instagram at Pro Football Perspective. I'm Nathaniel Bradley. Deuces.